Hey crafty friends, this is Chelsea, and this week the creative design team has a very special collab for you. We are celebrating Jayma's 10K subscriber milestone by scraplifting some of her creations. I am doing this layout here. I just love this layout. It's so pretty, and I had this perfect photo that I wanted to use of my daughter. She's dressed up like a little unicorn, has all these beautiful blues and purples in it, and the lighting is perfect. So I thought this is the perfect layout to scrap that photo. I'm going to use this super pretty Life's a Hoot collection. The colors just happen to match perfectly with what she's wearing, and also adding in a little bit of pink too, which is really fun. There's really neutral patterns in this, so it could work for pretty much anything, and just some really nice, happy colors. Now, I'm also going to be mixing collections, which I actually don't do very often, but this Storybook collection I'm just in love with, and I love the magical theme. It goes along with my photo and my journaling and what I want to talk about. This page in particular, because it's black and white, can go with anything, and I love all the rainbows and castles and unicorns on it. I don't think I'm going to end up using any of the other patterns because they just don't really go with that brighter, happier color palette, but that black and white print is perfect. To start off, I really wanted to try this busy pattern in the background. I figured it would be too much, and it was, but I am going to figure out a way to bring it in still a substantial way without it being the background. I'm testing out both the Periwinkle Cardstock, this blue color, which matches my daughter's eyes, and the purple is Wisteria. Both of those are in the Life's a Hoot collection. I'm playing around, trying out some matting ideas, see if I want to bring in white cardstock. That's what Jayma used on her page, and usually that's a go-to for me, but it was a lot of white with that black and white background. So I'm just kind of testing out options, layering things up to see what looks good. I don't want it to be too plain, but I also don't want it to be too busy. So I'm going to spend a fair bit of time figuring this out, and this is what I landed on. So I have Periwinkle Cardstock as my base layer, kind of framing the whole thing out, and then I have that busy pattern paper. I gutted both of those. And now this mat that's going to go over the middle is the Wisteria in the light side. So Close to My Heart cardstock is double-sided. One side is dark, one side is light. I'm using the light side. And I have this little cloud template that I cut on my Cricut. It's just cut from cardstock, but I wanted it long enough so that it could go across a whole page. And I am just going in with a blending brush and some Wisteria ink. I'm starting out very light and kind of hesitant to begin with because I did not want to get this too dark and too heavy on the clouds. I wanted this to be a really subtle accent that kind of adds to the magical feel of this page without kind of taking over and being super bold. I was going for subtle. That is one thing that I love about ink blending brushes is that they really allow you to build up the ink slowly and have lots of control. Especially with the Close to My Heart inks, it blends them out so smoothly that it just makes for a really polished look. I'm going pretty light here at the top, and actually at the end I come back and just replace the template here and add more ink because I get heavier handed as I go down. I'm also just doing the sides here because I'm going to have my photo in the middle. It is a 5x7 photo, so it takes up a good chunk of my page. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you start your brush, whatever kind of inking tool you're using, on top of your template or your stencil, and then blending off. That way you'll avoid getting any big splotches of ink on your page. The majority of that heavy inking will go onto your stencil, and because this is paper, it kind of absorbs more ink than I would probably like. If I cut this out of a stencil material, the ink would slide off there a little bit easier, and it would have been a faster process than what this turned out to be, but that's all right. I had a hard time choosing which layout of Jayma's to Scraplift. She has so many good ones. I love how she uses really good size photos and they are the star of the show. But she still manages to work in fun techniques and excellent design, which that is a big feat. If you watch her channel already, then you know that she loves flip-flaps and shimmer brushes too. Besides being a super creative person, Jayma is also a wonderful friend and the mastermind behind the creative design team. She brought us all together, and I will be forever grateful for her friendship and her big picture thinking. If you guys don't already follow her channel, make sure you click the link down in my description box to go over, follow her, watch all her videos, and be inspired. I decided that I'm going to edge all of my pieces, all of my layers with pewter gray ink. I just wanted a little bit of separation between them. Now I have some liquid pearls here, the lavender lace and the robin egg blue colors, and I am just spritzing them with a little bit of water. This is actually something that I taught during last month's Creative Design Team membership class. It's a really fun way to use your liquid pearls. I'm adding a little bit more because you kind of have to feel the balance. If they get too runny, they don't stand out as much. And if they're too thick, you can't splatter them. So I mix them in with a little bit of water. I'm using both colors. I didn't know if I would use both colors. I kind of tested it out in the middle there so I could see what they would look like. I did get slightly carried away. I had wanted to use shimmer brush on here because that's such a Jayma thing to do, but I didn't have shimmer brush in the right color for what I wanted. The liquid pearls give a super shimmery, dimensional effect, but they do take some time to dry. So while those are drying, I want to let you know that the Creative Design Team membership is accepting members starting today through March 3rd. When you join, you will have a whole library of classes to binge watch, along with new technique-focused classes each week, tip videos, and a monthly challenge. The website is linked below with all the information so you can check it out. February is our 1-year anniversary for the CDT membership, which means that we are celebrating in a big way. We are hosting an online scrapbooking celebration February 24th to 25th with challenges, giveaways, and mini classes from all 7 of us. It will be hosted in a public Facebook group, so everyone is welcome at this free event. I hope you all join us and help us celebrate. And make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you don't miss the announcement for this fun event. Now back to our layout. This is pretty much dry. You can see the gorgeous reflection from those liquid pearls. A couple of the big spots are not quite dry yet, so I need to be careful when I'm sticking this down. Those first 2 layers are already adhered together. I did ink the edges with the pewter ink, and I'm going to do that for almost everything on this layout except for some of the Cricut cut pieces that I'm using. Now I know that it looks like from this angle that there's only splatters on the top, but it's just the way my lights are reflecting. There's also lots of splatters on the bottom, so don't be thrown off by that. I am using my T-square ruler here to help me line up all these strips. These are kind of random sized, whatever I had kind of left over from projects that I had already made from this paper pack. Jayma had 5 or 6 different strips that she used on hers, and they were all various widths. Here, I grabbed the sticker sheet, and there's this little piece that went between the border strips, and I decided it would be the perfect little accent because it had some metallic accents on it, so I thought it would be perfect to just slip in here between these pieces, add a little bit of sparkle, and that way I didn't use any of my border strips and I can still use those on other pages. When you're doing a design like this where you have so many pieces kind of stacked upon each other, you really want to get that first one like straight and even and exactly where you want it, because that's going to depend how the rest of them go. So the T-ruler really helped me get that first one all straight and lined up. And now I'm using some of the scraps just to patch in the sides here. The middle will be covered anyways by my large photo, so it doesn't really matter that there's a gap in the middle. I could have actually used more scraps for this, but some of these I only had in full-length sections anyways. These are about 9.5 inches long, but if you only had scraps that were a couple inches long, you could definitely patch this together as long as you have a big photo in the middle. Jayma had 2 4x6 photos on hers, so she would have also had to patch the middle, so she ended up using full-length strips as well. I decided that I wanted to double matte my photo because I wanted to use a little bit more of that blue color that brought out the blue in my daughter's eyes. So I have a thin matte of Periwinkle and then a thin matte of white around the outside. Just to make it pop, the Periwinkle and the Wisteria are actually pretty close. So they kind of blend into each other a lot if I didn't have that little border of white. There are two big clusters of embellishments on this page, so I'm going to do that next. And I am starting this bottom one. This is going to be my bigger cluster with this castle sticker, which is on the Storybook sticker sheet. And I've popped it up on foam dots. And then I cut a whole bunch of clouds from the Storybook digital collection. So these are SVGs. You can use them either on your Cricut or your Silhouette or any machine that will cut SVGs. And I used white and Glacier cardstock along with Dreamy holographic paper. I also used that beautiful holographic paper for my title. So this paper can be a little bit tricky. First off, I cut the kind of outline, the offset with it, but it was really hard to get my title glued onto it without like smudging glue all over it. If you want to learn more about holographic paper, Jayma did a whole class in the membership in January, so you can go and watch that if you're a member, full of tips and tricks of how best to work with holographic paper. It was a really good reminder for me because I haven't used it in a while, so I just had to bring it in on this page. And I used the same beautiful font called Autumn in November that Jayma used on her most recent layout video. If you haven't seen that yet, make sure you go check it out. This unicorn here was cut from the SVGs, and there were supposed to be some little details for the nose and the eyes that were supposed to be cut. They were too tiny, so I just used my dark gray LePen. I love those pens for journaling and little details like that, and it worked out perfectly. Now I am just putting the arches of my rainbow up there. I cut one of those out of holographic paper. Got that idea from Jayma as well in her class. And then I'm just layering up clouds. I wanted to make sure that I did some repetition, so I'm repeating the holographic cloud and the Glacier Cardstock cloud. And then the gray for the unicorn, I decided to go with gray because the castle is gray, and I wanted to make sure I'm balancing the colors in both of those clusters. So I'm repeating as much as I can. There wasn't going to be gray anywhere else on the layout except for my gray edges, so I decided that's how I was going to bring it in. Once I was happy with placement, I started with the layers that were underneath everything. So I tried to pick the clouds that were at the very bottom, stick those down first with a little bit of tape runner and just kind of wedge them back approximately where they were. I don't think my pieces ever get completely back where I had them. It'd be nice if they would just magically seal into place once I have my cluster where I want it, but it all works out. It's totally fine. And I don't think it's a big deal when you're working with things like clouds. They don't have hard edges, so you don't need to line them up perfectly. Speaking of things not ending up where you had wanted them, I didn't realize until I had everything stuck down into place that rainbow is actually higher than I wanted it. I was going to bring it down and overlap my photo a little bit more because there is kind of that empty space. And you see in the photo, because this photo is so big, the empty spaces are quite large too. So on the left side, you can see my curtains in the background, and on the right, it's just wall. So I'm filling in some of that wall space with this castle, and I had meant to drop down that arches and also the clouds for the rainbow down a bit lower and cover up some of that curtain area, but I totally forgot until everything was glued into place. Now you can see I'm taking the sticker from the sticker sheet that said create your own sunshine, and I just cut off the piece that said sunshine. And so now it says create your own and then magic for the rest of the title. I thought that was really fun. I am putting that sticker and also the word magic up on pop dots. I debated not doing pop dots for it, but I decided just to go for it so it was all at the same level and a little bit easier to read. So next up, I'm going to start working on the cluster at the top. I'm going to stick down the rainbow arches first, and these are all separate pieces, so I'm just sticking them down one at a time, either with glue or with tape runner. And then everything up there is going to be flat except for the two white clouds that are at the bottom of the rainbow. So I have those two clouds that are pop dotted, the castle, the word magic, and the create your own sticker. Everything else on this layout is flat. I like to use some dimension on my layouts, but I try and keep it not too thick. So I just like to pop dot a few things here and there to make a little bit of an impact without having everything up on multiple layers of foam. All right, I got the rest of those embellishments stuck down, and now I grabbed the journaling strip stickers. These are also a favorite of Jayma's, and they come in 2 different widths, and I'm going to use these for my journaling. They will pop really nice against that purple background. What I like about these is you can cut them to whatever length you need them to be. I always like to do a rough draft of my journaling and just kind of figure out what I want to say. Otherwise, I could ramble on, and there would not be enough space for everything that I want to say. Now, this picture was actually taken while she was watching TV. Our TV is right next to a window, so the lighting is perfect. My husband took this picture, but my journaling is not really about that. It's about how her imagination has developed over the last few months. All of a sudden, she started playing pretend and telling all these little stories, and it's just hilarious to sit back and listen to her talk and make up her little stories and just watch her imagination grow. So here is my finished layout. I am so happy with how this turned out. So much shimmer and interest, and I used one of my favorite photos, so that always makes for a good layout. Now, if you want to check out Jayma's video, I'll have it linked down below. She actually ended up doing a second page for hers. I only had this photo to work with, so I didn't end up doing a second page. But if you want to see what that would look like, make sure you go watch her video. I can't wait to see what the rest of the creative design team came up with. We haven't really been talking about what we're making, so make sure you come back every day this week. There will be a new video from one of the creative design team members. The playlist will be linked at the end of this video and down below. That's a great way to find all of the videos in one place. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.